Tonight, Locked In. A blockbuster Western Derby to kickstart a month-long AFL hub here in WA.
You may want to describe it as a football bonanza.
Qantas slashes thousands of jobs as the flying kangaroo fights for survival. WA's trial of the century wraps up, a judge to now decide if Bradley Robert Edwards is the Claremont serial killer. Hear from the driver who cheated death in this terrifying Welsh pool crash. And the new campaign to lure West Australians back to the city.
This is 10 News First, Perth, with Monica Koss.
Hello again. As many as 6 interstate teams could soon call WA home as an AFL hub is finally locked in. Chiara Zaffino joins us now from Optus Stadium. Chiara, the wait is over for fans.
That's right, Monica. It's the news that WA footy fans have been hanging out for. And today we've got a few more details about how it's going to look. Optus Stadium will host multiple matches, including the Western Derby, with restrictions lifting just in time for it potentially to be played in front of a sellout crowd. Our seating capacity and low COVID-19 risk making WA the perfect AFL hub. It's been a long wait for West Australian footy fans, but they're about to be rewarded.
You may want to describe it as a football bonanza.
WA will host the Pies on July 17 for a Friday evening clash with the Cats. The crowd capped at 30,000. Phase 5 restrictions will kick in just in time for Sunday's Western Derby, allowing up to 60,000 fans to pack Optus Stadium.
We've done a lot of the heavy lifting and the AFL said all along that they would look after us post this, so it looks like that's come to fruition, which is great.
The prospect of being in a hub in WA in the middle of a Melbourne winter is actually quite exciting to us.
While the clubs seem keen about heading west, players have their doubts.
I've got to ask some questions, Tim. I've got to find out some more information about what it looks like and what it looks like for myself and my wife, yeah.
Collingwood and Geelong won't be the only ones coming over. More teams will follow.
Don't know exactly what the arrangements would be, and had I known Collingwood was going to be one of the teams, so we may have made a different decision.
Players will stay at Crown and will have to quarantine for 14 days. But how they'll be kept isolated and what game day will look like for them and the fans still needs to be worked out. Safety, the top priority on public transport and inside Optus Stadium.
Fans can't interact with players like they've been used to in previous times. We are in different times. We're still in a state of emergency.
While it's great to see the crowds actually be able to return because of the terrific work done by Western Australians, we cannot be complacent.
When tickets go on sale and the cost is yet to be revealed, hosting the grand final still on the cards.
We will obviously host the grand final if they can't do it at the MCG, and we can with a crowd.
Chiara Zaffino for 10 News First.
After 100 years in our skies, Qantas is now facing the worst crisis in its history. Boss Alan Joyce today announced a brutal plan to save the flying kangaroo from financial ruin that includes mass redundancies.
The news landed hard.
The actions that we're taking will have a huge impact on thousands of our people. This is something that weighs very heavily on all of us.
Qantas now believes it will be years before flying gets back to its pre-COVID state. For its own survival, it says, it needs to cut $15 billion, axing 6,000 staff, 1 in 5 of its workforce.
Many of the 6,000 job losses we've announced today are people who have spent decades here. They're people we know personally. They are people that we know for a long time.
It will be a combination of cabin crew, engineering, ground services teams and also corporate teams as well.
The Prime Minister says people are hurting, but they do understand.
And they understand, ultimately, that when you can't put planes in the air, then the business can't make money.
It will start with voluntary redundancies. The rest will be forced out in a process that could take months.
We will be spending around $600 million in redundancies. The redundancy arrangements in Qantas have been and always will be very attractive.
15,000 workers will stay on the Qantas books, relying on JobKeeper payments to keep them going for as long as those payments last. At 6 o'clock last night, Alan Joyce put in a phone call to the Prime Minister. He spoke separately also to the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg. His aim was to warn both men there would be bad news today. But he also appealed directly to the Prime Minister, asking him to extend the JobKeeper scheme for the aviation industry.
So I had a very good discussion last night with Alan Joyce.
But from the PM, no promises on extending JobKeeper past its September cut-off.
I was very clear last night that we know that those sectors that continue to be significantly affected will need continued support. And so we're just working through the best way to target and deliver that support. I extend my deepest regrets about what has had to be announced today.
Those workers are much less interested in you extending your regrets and much more interested in you extending JobKeeper.
Qantas has made Mr Joyce a multi-millionaire. Today's announcement guarantees his job until 2023. But for the time being, he says, he is accepting no pay. Qantas shares remain in a trading halt as the airline seeks nearly $2 billion in new capital.
We've always come back from a crisis stronger than before.
But it's not how the flying kangaroo thought it would be celebrating its 100th birthday. Hugh Remington for 10 News First.
Victoria has recorded its biggest spike in coronavirus cases since the height of the pandemic. It sparked a drastic testing blitz to halt community transmissions.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, so Victoria is changing its coronavirus strategy. Daniel Andrews announced a mobile testing blitz across 10 outer suburbs over 10 days.
We are going to go out and literally, door to door, we are bringing the public health and coronavirus response to your doorstep.
Victoria recorded 33 new COVID cases today. 7 are returned travellers, 9 are linked to known outbreaks. 6 results were from routine testing. 11 cases are being investigated. Now Australia's pariah state, Victorians won't be allowed to attend sport in New South Wales.
Don't expect to be able to come because they're not selling tickets to you, and we don't want you to come. I'm sorry about that, but we don't want you to come.
Laboratories across Australia will help process Victorian test samples.
So we have got excess capacity at the moment with regards to our testing arrangements.
This morning, door knockers fanned out in the worst affected suburbs.
For instance, we have ambulances and other vans that will literally be at the end of people's streets. So they will be invited to come and get a test, and they'll only have to travel 50 or 100 metres.
Participating in the door-to-door testing won't be compulsory, but Victoria's Premier is hopeful that most will want to take up the opportunity and avoid the long queues Melbourne has seen at its drive-through sites. Not everyone is on board.
I haven't got symptoms. I don't want to waste the public's money.
I reckon we're crushing a peanut with a sledgehammer, actually.
Victorians have been warned there'll be outbreaks for months to come. Emma O'Sullivan for 10 News First.
After 7 months of testimony, witnesses and confronting evidence, WA's biggest criminal trial has wrapped up. Bradley Robert Edwards is accused of murdering Sarah Spears, Jane Rimmer and Keira Glennon, but his defence says he simply didn't do it. Claire Durrell's been following the case since November last year. Claire, what happens next?
Well, Monica, Bradley Robert Edwards' fate is now in the hands of Justice Stephen Hall, who retired to consider his verdict late this afternoon. Defence counsel Paul Jovich has wrapped up his closing argument, finishing off Perth's trial of the century. Mr Jovich said it was perfectly plausible Sarah Spears could have been killed by a different predator to the one who killed Jane Rimmer and Keira Glennon, casting doubt over the long-held assumption that both were murdered by a serial killer. He said while the community and families are yearning for closure, a wrongful conviction wouldn't help. Now up to Justice Hall to consider 7 months of evidence. Edwards was remanded in custody until September 24, but it's unclear if that will be the date when Justice Hall hands down his verdict. He said it could be much sooner. Mon.
Claire, thank you. Claire Durrell there. A uni student who survived a crash which ripped his car in two says he can't believe he's alive. The 25-year-old somehow escaped with only minor injuries and credits his BMW's 8 airbags for saving him from serious harm.
It could have been another tragedy on a WA road, and Warriner Boyagoda knows just how close he came to death.
Seriously, I can't believe that I'm alive when looking at the video.
The 25-year-old was driving home from work on Tuesday night when he crashed into 2 trees on Welshpool Road.
The road was slippery. I don't know what happened. I just remember it's hitting the curb. It totally went out of control.
Somehow, still conscious, he tried to climb from the crumpled wreck.
Then I realised, my head was L-shaped. It was turned towards me. Then I realised that my heart was broken.
Trapped inside, it wasn't until a resident came to help that he realised just how bad the crash had been.
She was talking to me from behind, and I was wondering, how can someone talk to me from behind? Then I realised the back cut is not there. Then I saw the rear part of the car is on the other side of the road.
The Sri Lankan student needed surgery on a fractured shoulder, broken nose and broken arm. Mr Boyagoda believes the 8 airbags that went off inside his BMW saved his life and maintains he wasn't speeding. But that's something police are investigating.
But you can't rely on airbags and vehicle safety standards if you're going to be colliding into something at high speed.
We're very much thankful for them, actually. Even I can't believe that I'm still alive.
Amelia Simpson for 10 News First. 5 Churchlands High School students involved in a train station bashing have had their charges downgraded. Today they admitted to the attack that was so severe it left their 20-year-old victim in a coma. Brendan Crew was in court.
Well, Monica, the charges for grievous bodily harm and aggravated robbery have been dropped for the 5 boys, while one of the boys has been let off completely. Today, the 5 boys aged between 14 and 15 pleaded guilty to lesser charges, intent to cause harm and for stealing the victim's shoes. One of the teens also admitted stealing his bag. The 5 Churchlands senior high school students bashed 20-year-old Matthew Henson on February 13 at Stirling train station. Mr Henson had to be placed into an induced coma and was in hospital for months after the attack. He's now at home with his family. One of the boys' charges were dropped completely today and he was paid back court costs of over $4,000. A lawyer for one of the teens described the attack as a huge wake-up call for his client.
My client is taking it very, very seriously, and it's been an absolutely massive wake-up call.
Monica, the boys were all released on bail. They'll be sentenced on August 18.
Struggling business owners have launched a new campaign to entice West Australians back to the city. It comes as they prepare for restrictions to be further relaxed, allowing bars and clubs to fully reopen.
It's the campaign that says we're open.
Perth is creative, evolving, supportive.
Dynamic.
Local.
Connected. Easy. Featuring city-based business owners hit hard by COVID-19.
It really unfolded quickly. We closed. I was still trying to come into work every day, watering plants, checking mail, flushing toilets, trying to sort of keep it together.
Phase 4 comes into effect Saturday, scrapping gathering limits and the need for sit-down drinks and meals. It means hospitality heavyweights barely holding on can fully reopen.
And we need everybody's support to come back to the venues, bring their friends, come out for dinner and come and have a drink to get us through. We are all 3 venues, we're at breaking point, to be honest with you.
Retailers surviving through online sales, keen to welcome West Aussies back through the shop front.
The local support that we have had already has been unreal, but you'd be lucky to see 2 or 3 people. It was, pretty eerie.
We've had a few landlords that weren't as supportive as others as well, so I had 3 businesses in the city and at the moment I've only got 2.
Northbridge got hit really hard. We understand that their visitation went down by 90%. As far as our vehicle traffic went, we can judge that by car parking. It dropped from 15,000 to 5,000 pretty much overnight.
The City of Perth estimates about 75% of CBD workers have now returned, but a lack of tourists will still be hurting business,
making it more important than ever to support local.
Can't wait to see you in town. Come back in.
We'd love to see you.
The city's open. Come
and
see us. Rediscover your city. Let's go.
Cindy Lavrenchik for 10 News First.
Time to get an early look at sport with Goss. You have the team changes for both the Eagles and Dockers.
That I do, Monica Cost, thank you. Our worlds have been consumed by the hometown hubs in a few weeks' time, but they've got to find some form now in Queensland against Port Adelaide and the Suns this weekend. Also tonight, footy loses a legend. Coaching great John Kennedy Sr. has died just weeks after receiving an AFL honour. And another negative test for Essendon's Connor McKenna. But the news isn't positive from health officials. Fair to say Adam Simpson has wielded the axe at the Eagles.
Speak to you later, Goss, after the break on 10. Rescue package. The PM delivers a $250 million lifeline to the struggling arts sector. And feeling the heat, social distancing ignored as Brits flock to the beach.
Hello there. The big news in the corporate world today was obviously Qantas. 6,000 workers being sacked and the grounding of 100 planes. But another key part of its COVID-19 recovery plan is the $1.9 billion capital raising effort through the issuing of new shares. The majority will be offered to institutional investors, so think big managed funds. JP Morgan and Macquarie Bank spent the day finding owners for the new shares among existing Qantas shareholders. The rest can be snapped up by eligible mum and dad investors to the value of $30,000. Alan Joyce and the Qantas board intend to take up this offer. The shares will also be discounted. The process will increase by a quarter the Qantas shares currently available. Now, it's all about liquidity, so think quick access to cash. At the end of it, Qantas expects to have around $5 billion in the bank to get through the crisis. So the airline remains in a trading halt. Other travel stocks took a dive on the news, the ASX 200 closing in the red. And it's pretty dire out there for any laid-off workers. According to the Bureau of Statistics, there's been a collapse in job vacancies. They've fallen more than 40% over the past 3 months, breaking a record set 30 years ago. So people are now competing for around 129,000 jobs, and there are lots of pandemic-impacted businesses reporting no vacancies. A quick look at the dollar. It's buying around 68 US cents, and that's finance.
Scott Morrison has thrown the arts and entertainment industries a COVID-19 lifeline. He's unveiled $250 million for musicians, stage shows, TV and movies. But critics say that'll barely get the lights on.
3 months after the pandemic forced Australia into lockdown...
Take us forward, Mr Sulu.
Finally, a relief package for the entertainment and arts industries.
And we're here to talk about better days ahead for the entertainment and the media and the arts sector.
It's great that you guys are, filling that gap with this aid, and it's going to really aid us to be able to fill this gap and not have the industry fall off a cliff.
Part of the PM's JobMaker program.
Today, we're announcing $250 million.
Nearly half of which comes in the form of loans.
It's 100% guaranteed by the Commonwealth Government.
Which will need to be paid back.
Tell him he's dreaming. $75 million in direct grants to support getting productions back up and running.
Labor says it's too little, too late.
The government should have used today to extend JobKeeper to arts and entertainment workers.
And the Greens agree.
The government has been very, very slow in responding to what has been an absolute crisis.
Yeah, we appreciate it that you haven't forgotten us and that we're thought of.
The package will help struggling artists in film.
You have to trust the man beside you.
Comedy.
Scott Morrison, he's like Australia's relief teacher. He doesn't look right, you know he's not going to be around for long.
Music. And on stage.
It's just a jump to the left.
The package includes seed money for festivals as well as concerts. And there are loans for artistic productions to get back on their feet in the wake of the crisis.
The thing I love about this sector is the passion.
We have to look after each other because it turns out people at the top don't.
Peter Van Onselen for 10 News First.
Australian medical researchers have discovered a drug widely used to treat kidney disease simply doesn't work. The study found allopurinol does nothing to slow the onset of renal failure.
A diagnosis of kidney disease often means a daily cocktail of drugs and hours on dialysis.
It basically changes your whole life. Your timetable gets completely reversed around from whatever you want to do to what you have to do.
Around 20% of patients are given a drug called allopurinol, long believed to slow worsening of the condition. But it seems doctors have been prescribing a pill that has absolutely no effect.
We found in a world first that the drug allopurinol did not slow the progression of kidney disease.
It was long thought the pill could treat the disease by reducing uric acid in the blood, but this clinical trial suggests the level of blood urate is only an indicator of reduced kidney function, not a cause.
Well, given that medications can be associated with side effects, it's important whenever introducing any sort of new treatment for a disease that it is properly tested in a robust clinical trial.
Kidney transplant recipient Phil Carswell was never prescribed allopurinol, but empathises with those who were.
To give people an unnecessary drug that costs money and does nothing is just the epitome of low-value care.
If you are on this drug, the expert advice is do not go cold turkey. Talk to your doctor first, because stopping treatment too quickly could have nasty side effects. This new evidence will lead to a global shake-up in clinical guidelines for patient treatment.
We still need more effective treatments and we're hoping to develop more treatments in the future.
Brendan Savage for 10 News First.
At least 50 active forest fires are burning in Siberia as a record-breaking heat wave continues. It follows the worst fire season in the Russian region's recorded history last year. Much of Europe is currently sweltering through higher than normal temperatures, including in the UK, where huge crowds flocked to the beach on England's south coast, raising fears of more COVID outbreaks. Let's now take a check on our weather. Michael Schultz, a rather chilly start to the day.
It was a chilly start, but we've got cloud building up over us at the moment, so it shouldn't be as cold tomorrow morning. Here are the numbers from around the metropolitan area this morning. It dropped as low as 1.4 up at Gingin, 2.3 inland at Northam, 3.3 in the Swan Valley, but near the coast much milder. 14 degrees the minimum on Rottnest Island, and Mandra's gauge is right on the coast, so 12 degrees there. The city fell to 4.2. That was at 7:04 this morning. 20.5 was the maximum at 3 this afternoon. Around the state, it got as high as 33 at Columbaroo. 15 was the lowest maximum in the Great Southern at Katanning. 1 degree this morning at Kalgoorlie, -1 at Norseman, -3 the lowest that was recorded at Ayr. Rain moving on to the southwest corner tomorrow. There could be as much as 15 millimetres at Margaret River and Bunbury, but falls will be very light here. I'm going to be disappointed. I'll see you at 5 to 6.
See you then, Michael. Ahead on 10 News, virus spike. The US records its biggest one-day surge in COVID cases since the pandemic began. And don't look down, an acrobat's death-defying performance in the Swiss Alps. ICU wards in several US states are nearing capacity as the country recorded its biggest single-day increase in COVID cases. Meanwhile, dozens of Secret Service agents who travelled with Donald Trump to a weekend rally have been told to self-quarantine.
At test sites across Florida, lines of cars stretch back for kilometres. The state, which began reopening in early May, is now recording more than 5,500 COVID cases every day. In Miami, 1 in 5 people are testing positive.
Really rapid transmission in that 18 to 34 age group.
Texas, which also rapidly reopened, was another to record a new high in daily infections. The largest hospital in Houston is forecast to run out of ICU beds in just 4 days.
And people got a little bit overly confident, and it's coming back and it's biting us, quite frankly.
They are among more than 20 states, mostly in America's south and west, reporting significant spikes. And in a sign of just how much things have changed, the world's former coronavirus epicentre of New York has joined New Jersey and Connecticut in ordering visitors from 9 states to self-quarantine on arrival.
You violate the quarantine, you will then have to do mandatory quarantine and you'll be fined.
The president, who is set to visit his New Jersey golf club this weekend, says he won't abide by the order. That's despite holding a rally in the hotspot of Arizona yesterday.
Kung flu,
In the last week and a half, I've had 0 negative COVID tests, which I know sounds crazy, but everybody I test is positive.
But as cases climb, Donald Trump's poll numbers are on the decline. He's now trailing Joe Biden by nearly 14 points, and 58% of voters disapprove of his handling of the pandemic. Adam Gleeson for 10 News First.
3 men accused of chasing down and shooting dead a black jogger in the US state of Georgia have been charged with murder. Video of Ahmaud Arbery's killing sparked outrage last month, shortly before the death of George Floyd. The defendants say they suspected him of a string of recent robberies and were trying to make a citizen's arrest. Prince William has visited the British scientists who are working to develop a vaccine for COVID-19. In partnership with the drug maker AstraZeneca, the researchers hope clinical trial results will be out by August, with deliveries of the drug possible from October. The program is one of more than 100 COVID vaccines currently being developed and tested around the world. Harry and Meghan are set to hit speakers circuits after signing with the same agency that represents the Obamas, Clintons and Oprah. The couple, who now live in LA, are expected to discuss racial justice, gender equity, the environment and mental health during the engagements. Clients for the Harry Walker agency can earn up to $500,000 for one speaking appearance. And a spinning wheel of death stunt is being performed on the edge of a mountain in Switzerland. Dressed in a black suit and bow tie, acrobat Ramon Catarine's apparatus of choice, is a 9-metre revolving metal pendulum. His daredevil moves were performed to highlight those in the entertainment industry impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. And apparently his next goal is performing on a hot air balloon. After the break, spray safety. Why are controversial weed killers still being sold in Australia? And honouring our veterans 70 years after the start of the Korean War. The top stories here on 10 News First. The date for the much-anticipated Western Derby has been announced, with the Eagles and Dockers set to clash in front of a full crowd at Optus Stadium on July 19. It could be the first of 7 home games for our state teams. After 7 months, WA's trial of the century has drawn to a close. A judge will now decide if former Telstra worker Bradley Robert Edwards killed Sarah Spears, Jane Rimmer and Keira Glennon more than 2 decades ago. And the financial impact of the coronavirus has forced Qantas to take drastic action, cutting and standing down 15,000 other workers as it tries to avoid ruin. Today's devastating announcement has laid bare just how up in the air the future is for the entire aviation industry. Qantas is forecasting international travel won't get back to 2019 levels until at least 2022, while forecasts on the domestic front are just as grim.
100 years in the skies. 2020 was meant to be a centenary celebration. Instead, it's devastation.
And clearly, this is not turning out as planned.
International and internal borders shut, bringing the world's aviation industry to its knees. Air New Zealand has lost 4,000 employees, 30,000 gone from Emirates, 12,000 unemployed from British Airways, a further 22,000 from Lufthansa.
Globally, we're seeing 15 to 50% drops in airlines around the world, and Qantas was never going to be immune from this.
Back on home soil, Virgin's administrator wants to have a bidder locked down by next week and a deal to present to creditors in August.
There will be some cutbacks, there's no question about that. So we won't see Virgin returning the way it was.
And experts think not enough is being done to save Australian aviation.
I think the government should be putting more money into the industry to support Qantas, Virgin Australia coming out of administration, and of course the airports.
Terminals across the country have looked like this for months now, empty, bar a few essential travellers. But the Qantas boss is hopeful that from next month, domestic travel will return to 40% of pre-crisis capacity. However, international flying is looking a lot further away.
So it will take more than 3 years for global travel to return to 2019 levels. We might get the Trans-Tasman before then. We may get other nations opening up with bubbles, but to real size from July of next year.
And if last week's $19 Jetstar sale proved anything, there's an Aussie appetite to return to the skies.
In a sale before COVID-19, 100 bookings in a minute. They got over 200 bookings a minute last week.
But what travel will look like and how much it costs is still up in the air.
We are going to see some cheap fares selectively. We're also going to see higher fares because certain routes will not be able to sustain those cheap fares.
Charlotte Goodlett for 10 News First.
Pharmaceutical giant Bayer says it will keep selling its weed killer Roundup in Australia, despite agreeing to pay more than $15 billion to settle cancer lawsuits in the US. The Germany-based company says the settlement will cover almost 100,000 cases, but it's vowed to keep fighting a class action involving Roundup that was launched in Australia earlier this year. Roundup is used extensively by Australian farmers and gardeners. Bayer has long argued it's safe to use. 70 years on, the Korean War is still referred to as the Forgotten War. Today, a service was held to remember the Australian and Korean lives lost in the war that technically never ended.
These two granite stones were a gift from Gapyeong, the site where many Australians fought. It also symbolises the enduring division between North and South Korea.
North and South Korea is the only country which is divided into two in our whole world.
The bloody conflict went on from 1950 to 53, claiming millions of Korean lives and killing or injuring almost 2,000 Australians. And it was our soldiers who helped alert the world to the invasion from the north.
We had soldiers and Air Force stationed in Japan, which enabled us to respond very quickly.
The US decision to carve up the country after World War II was meant to be a short-term measure to maintain their influence in Asia.
The fighting was stopped, but there was no peace treaty, and technically still at war.
The ongoing hostility decades later pits communist and capitalist forces against each other. Nak Yoon Pak was 17 when he fought in the war. He had hoped to see peace and reunification in his lifetime.
My age is 86 years old now, so I don't think it's possible.
Australia and South Korea continue to have a strong relationship. They're one of our largest trading partners. But should the war escalate, there's little doubt that Australia will be called on for help.
We hope the Australian government, as our friend and ally, will continue to support us to ensure the lasting peace.
It's like foreshadowing a war that never really ended. Antoinette Latou for 10 News First.
Good evening. I'm becoming a little less confident we're going to get a reasonable drop of rain from the system tomorrow. We've got a classic block situation set up where we've got a low in the Tasman blocking the high in the Bight, and as a result any fronts reaching Western Australia are being pushed off to the southeast, so they're not going to push inland at all. We'll see that in a moment, but the maximum in the city today got to 20.5 degrees after an overnight minimum of 4.2. 16 at the moment. It's calm. The barometer 1,016.3 and falling, so that's a good sign. Relative humidity 64%. Cold this morning, 2 degrees at Northam, 4 degrees at Jandakot, 5 degrees at Bullsbrook. It got up to 21 up to the north, 23 up to the north at Lancelin today, and 17 was reported from Bickley and Dwellingup. That was the lowest close to Perth, 2 more than the lowest in the state. That was 15 degrees at Katanning today, 33 was the highest. Again, it was reported from the far north Kimberley at Columbaroo. Cold spots overnight, 1 degree you can see there at Kalgoorlie. Norseman down to the south had -1, and further to the southeast Ayr had -3, and that was the lowest overnight minimum. Walpole reported 18 millimetres of rain in the 24 hours up until 9 o'clock this morning, which was the most in the state, and Denmark had a total of 7 millimetres. Now, the satellite images show the cold front moving towards the eastern Indian Ocean. This is the feature that's going to reach the southwest corner of the state tomorrow. But as I mentioned at the start, it has got a fight on its hand. On the chart, you can see the low in the Tasman. That doesn't allow the high to move east particularly well. So as a result, the fronts run up into the northerlies on this side of the high, and they're stripped off to the southeast. So that shows up on the rainfall model too. You can see that the band looks pretty thick as it approaches the southwest corner, but as it starts getting into that northerly, it's stripped away, becomes a pretty thin band, and as a result, you get a line of showers that produces some good falls if you're under it, and it is likely that places like Bunbury and Margaret River could get up to 15 millimetres of rain, but because it's not going to continue moving in an easterly direction, by the time it gets here and to Albany, you may be only looking at 2, maybe 3 millimetres of rain, and there's no hope of anything from this system getting into the agricultural areas. The major centres tomorrow, as I've mentioned, Bunbury could get some showers developing in Albany, cloud clearing for Esperance. Shower or thunderstorm possible in Kalgoorlie, but that's a different system. That's an inland trough. Geraldton could be partly cloudy, and further north it should be sunny. Adelaide, Melbourne and Hobart are all going to be partly cloudy tomorrow. The rest should be sunny or mostly so, and there should be some frost tomorrow morning in Alice Springs and Canberra. On our waters, we're expecting northwesterlies to increase to 15 to 20 knots during the day, seas between 1 and 1.5 metres, the southwesterly swell between 1.5 and 2.5. The high tide's a little under 1.2 metres at 8 minutes to midday, the low tide's at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, sunrise at 18 past 7 and sunset at 21 minutes past 5. So for Perth, I think it's going to fine in the morning. We should see showers develop during the afternoon. They're more likely in the evening, and the Bureau's now only talking about 2 to 4 millimetres for tomorrow, although there is still the risk of a thunderstorm. The winds will be light to moderate northwesterlies, a low of 9 and a maximum of 21. Saturday, there's a better chance of some rainfall and possibly a thunderstorm. It's more likely late in the day once again. 10 to 15 millimetres is likely and a top of 21. Sunday, 20 to 30 millimetres they're talking about, and 21 degrees. Showers continuing on Monday, 10 to 20 millimetres and a top of 19 degrees.
WA's in for a footy bonanza with as many as 6 Victorian teams potentially heading west to our hub. Optus Stadium could be hosting weeks of football, the Derby at full capacity, even the grand final.
After a long wait, a footy bonanza for WA fans. Optus Stadium will host the Pies on July 17 for a Friday evening clash with the Cats. The crowd capped at 30,000. Phase 5 restrictions will kick in just in time for Sunday's Western Derby, allowing up to 60,000 fans to pack Optus Stadium.
We've done a lot of the heavy lifting, and the AFL said all along that they would look after us post this, so it looks like that's come to fruition, which is great.
The prospect of being in a hub in WA in the middle of a Melbourne winter is actually quite exciting to us.
While the clubs seem keen about heading west, players have their doubts.
I've got to ask some questions, Tim. I've got to find out some more information about what it looks like and what it looks like for myself and my wife, yeah.
Collingwood and Geelong won't be the only ones coming over. More teams will follow.
Don't know exactly what the arrangements would be, and had I known Collingwood was going to be one of the teams, so we may have made a different decision.
Players will stay at Crown and will have to quarantine for 14 days. But how they'll be kept isolated and what game day will look like for them and the fans still needs to be worked out. Safety, the top priority on public transport and inside Optus Stadium.
While it's great to see the crowds actually be able to return because of the terrific work done by Western Australians, we cannot be complacent.
When tickets go on sale and the cost is yet to be revealed, and a WA Grand Final remains on the cards. Chiara Zaffino for 10 News First.
100 years after it took to the skies, Qantas is facing the fight of its life. The flying kangaroo is set to shed thousands of jobs and stand down even more as it tries to navigate out of a financial crisis.
The Qantas terminal today, all but empty. The passengers have gone, along with the profits. It was inevitable. Staff would have to follow.
The actions that we're taking will have a huge impact on thousands of our people. This is something that weighs very heavily on all of us.
20 minutes before fronting the cameras, the Qantas boss had emailed his staff with grim news. 6,000 jobs, 1 in 5 across Qantas and Jetstar, will go.
Our people who have spent decades here, they're people we know personally, they are people that we know for a long time.
Voluntary redundancies at first, then taps on shoulders. A further 15,000 staff stood down in March will remain without work or salary until year's end, possibly longer.
And they understand, ultimately, that when you can't put planes in the air, then the business can't make money.
Only this week, Qantas was taking planes out of mothballs. Now it's confirmed 100 aircraft will be grounded. Its 6 remaining 747 jumbos will not fly again. And its 12 A380s will be banished to the Mojave Desert's aircraft boneyard for 3 years. Qantas will not fly internationally, except perhaps to New Zealand, for at least 12 months.
Globally, we're seeing 15 to 50% drops in airlines around the world, and Qantas was never going to be immune from this.
The job cuts will include at least 1,050 cabin crew, 220 pilots, mainly from the 747s, 1,500 ground operations staff, including baggage handlers, almost the same number from head office and management, and 630 engineering jobs are getting the chop.
Well, this is a decision that's cutting them to the core. They've been sideswiped, they've been taken by surprise.
Mr Joyce briefed the Prime Minister and Treasurer overnight, asking for JobKeeper payments to be extended or for other aviation-focused handouts for staff.
So we're just working through the best way to target and deliver that support.
And it comes just as Virgin administrators prepare to announce their preferred bidder for Qantas's main rival.
So to make this announcement in the middle of the decision-making process about Virgin, I think is an attempt to sabotage that process.
Before the pandemic hit, Qantas had been flying high. It's now bleeding $40 million every week.
So other countries are doing more for their airline industry than the Australian government is.
But Qantas says Mr Joyce can look after itself. It's seeking to raise nearly $2 billion from investors.
The Qantas Group has extremely bright prospects for recovery. And the faster we recover, the sooner most of our people can get back to work.
He will stay on at the helm of the airline for 3 more years, but his flying kangaroo will be a much smaller beast. Daniel Sutton for 10 News First. After 7 months of testimony, WA's biggest criminal trial has wrapped up. A judge will now decide if Bradley Robert Edwards is the Claremont serial killer. Claire Durrell has been covering the case.
Monica, Bradley Robert Edwards' fate is now in the hands of Justice Hall, who has retired to consider his verdict. Late this afternoon, defence lawyer Paul Jovich finished off his closing argument, wrapping up Perth's trial of the century. Mr Jovich said it was perfectly plausible that Sarah Spears could have been killed by a different predator to the one who killed Jane out over the long-held assumption all 3 women were murdered by a serial killer. He said while the community and families are yearning for closure, a wrongful conviction wouldn't help. It's now up to Justice Hall to consider 7 months of evidence. Edwards was remanded in custody until September 24, but it's unclear if that will be the day the verdict is handed down. Justice Hall said it could be much sooner. Mon.
A uni student whose car was torn in half in a Welshpool crash has spoken about his miraculous survival from his hospital bed. He says if it wasn't for the 8 airbags fitted in his vehicle, he wouldn't be alive.
He could have become another road toll statistic, but remarkably, Warriner Boyagoda survived this crash.
Seriously, I can't believe that I'm alive by looking at the video.
The Sri Lankan student was driving home from work on Tuesday night when he lost control and hit 2 trees on Welshpool Road. The impact so severe the 25-year-old's car ripped in 2, leaving him injured and trapped inside. Panicked residents heard the crash and ran outside to help.
She was talking to me from behind, and I was wondering how can someone talk to me from behind. Then I realised the back cut is not there. Then I saw the rear part of the car is on the other side of the road.
The uni student believes his BMW, fitted with 8 airbags, saved his life and says he wasn't speeding at the time.
The road was slippery. I don't know what happened. I just remember it's hitting the curb. It totally went out of control.
Police are investigating.
My look at those photographs and the video I saw, clearly speed will be a major element of that investigation.
Amelia Simpson for 10 News First.
5 Churchland senior high school students responsible for a train station bashing have had their charges downgraded. Today, the boys aged between 14 and 15 pleaded guilty to the attack at Stirling Station, which left their 20-year-old victim in a coma, while one of the teens was let off. Matthew Henson was in hospital for months after the attack and has only just returned home.
My client is taking it very, very seriously. And it's been an absolutely massive wake-up call.
The boys will be sentenced on August 18. The US has recorded its highest daily number of COVID cases since the outbreak began. Almost 37,000 infections were reported nationwide, while the states of Florida, Texas, Oklahoma and South Carolina all experienced their highest single-day totals.
And people got a little bit overly confident in our ability to manage, more normally, and it's coming back and it's biting us, quite frankly.
New Jersey, New York and Connecticut have ordered visitors from 9 states to quarantine for 14 days on arrival. After months of pleading for help, the arts sector has finally been thrown a $250 million lifeline. The Prime Minister today announced a 12-month rescue package divided into grants and loans. It's part of the government's broader JobMaker plan to help revive the arts, film and entertainment sectors.
We're announcing $250 million of additional support into the sector, which is all about getting the show back on the road and the workers back in the jobs, doing what they love doing.
The government should have used today to extend JobKeeper to arts and entertainment workers.
Labor is adamant today's pledge was a missed opportunity. Struggling Perth businesses have launched a new campaign to lure punters back to the CBD. Many who are on the brink of collapse hope Phase 4 restrictions will help revive sales.
An appeal from city businesses hit hard by COVID-19.
We can't wait to see you in town.
Come back in. We'd love to see you.
The city's open.
Come and see
us. Rediscover your city. Let's go.
Phase 4 restrictions come into effect on Saturday, scrapping gathering limits and the need for sit-down drinks and meals. The new campaign urging West Aussies to come to the city and stay a while.
The small businesses have really suffered, so we've sort of come together in this campaign to try and encourage those people to eat local, come into town and show us some support.
In April, Northbridge visitation dropped 90%. Retailers keen to welcome shoppers through the front door.
The local support that we have had already has been unreal, but you'd be lucky to see 2 or 3 people. It was, pretty eerie.
A lack of tourists making it more important than ever to support local.
We need everybody's support to come back to the venues, bring their friends, come back, come out for dinner and come and have a drink.
Cindy Lavrenchik for 10 News First.